How's it going? How you doing tonight? This is Royal with Talk Show Central RTV Style, and tonight we have a show based or really to kind of educate the parents about school safety. And to help us out with this tonight is my co-host Vangela. Here comes Vangela. How's it going, Vangela? How you doing
Hello.
today? You doing all
I'm
right?
doing great. Thank you. How are you?
Oh man, awesome, awesome. This is a very interesting show, an interesting topic, and one that all parents should be glued to, and I mean, because you're gonna cover a lot of information that perhaps some parents have no idea that they need to know. Am I right?
Yes, for sure.
Wow. And basically, our topic is keeping our children safe in school
That's
uh,
right.
and things you need to know. I mean, we connect to that. By the way, if you have any questions, please comment. Make your comments, and we'll try to answer your questions as they pop out. We will have some questions here ready for you, but I mean, ready for us to show you and for you to, and for I guess we can do that. So, so Angela, with this situation that happened up in um, Uvalde and in other areas, but especially Uvalde, man. Our hearts go out to these families, to the whole community. Our love and hearts and prayers, and go out to that. We mean no respect by doing this show, but we feel like parents need to be aware of what their rights are as a parent and how to educate their child in regards to safety at school, or how to prepare them. We prepare them for everything in life, but we somehow don't prepare them for safety at school because we depend on our schools. And all those families in Uvalde were depending on the school district to have their kids safe, to make sure that the kids were going to be safe. They didn't have to worry about, I drop off my kid and in the afternoon I'm going to pick him up and we're going to be together. We're going to spend a great weekend. And that did not happen. And then
Right.
things went off. Things were off somewhere in there. But I think it goes back down to procedure even before anything happens, or,
That's correct.
or something in there, something that the school needs to do, right? And that's what we're going to work on, and also things that kids need to do about it, or while in situations like that. Oscar, how's it going? You doing all right? How's
Hey,
San
Oscar.
Antonio today? All right. So, Vangela, what do you want to start with? You're the boss.
Well, every school district should have an emergency operations plan. And that's one of the things that I was in charge in when I was in Medina Valley. I worked at Medina Valley High School. And hello, Madeline. And we were very meticulous about that plan, and every year we looked at it and we revised it, and then we made sure that the staff knew what the protocols were, and then students the very first week of school practice those different protocols, what the fire drills, the lock-ins, lockdowns, and those different scenarios. And so there was no questions asked as to what to do. They even knew where the reunification site was.
Wow.
We also practiced evacuating the entire campus to our, well, it was the stadium because it wasn't necessarily, in the school building. So we
Right.
evacuated the entire campus. And so I think one thing that we need to make sure of is, and I'm pretty sure schools are going to start, checking and seeing what their emergency operation plan looks like if they have one. Some schools don't even have one, believe it or not, or it hasn't been. They have one, but it hasn't been updated or looked at.
Wow.
um and so, yeah, it's important that they have those in that they're using them and that they're updated. So Medina Valley did an excellent job of
Mm.
that, and I'm not saying just because I worked there, but all of their campuses had that in place. So,
Wow. And
yeah.
and so some schools might not even have that. Am I right? They might not even have that.
Or they have it, but it's not looked at, talked about, and shared with staff.
It's collecting
So
dust.
it's important that, and obviously we're not going to share the whole emergency operation plan with parents, but parents need to know what happens,
Where to
you
get
know,
it.
in case of an emergency.
All right. So, where do you want me to go? We have
Well,
lots of information, guys. Literally,
yes.
lots of it. I'm overwhelmed at the amount of information. And Vangela knows how to work, go right through this. And we're going
Well,
to take shortcuts to show you the
to
main
different
points
places.
just for you. All right. So,
Yeah. So, one of the resources that school districts are using, because it is actually free. It is free to schools. It doesn't cost them a dime. It's the I Love You Guys. So if you can go to that website,
yes.
you'll see a picture of a young lady there.
Here, let me share it. Let me share it. All right. Hold on. Let's see here. And yeah, I think I can go. There we go. I'll share that like that. So I'll just share just the website. All right.
Right. So this little girl, this happened in 2006 when Emily, that's a little girl in the picture, there was a school shooting at her campus, and she texted first her mom, and she said, I love you guys, okay?" And then she texted her dad and said, "I love you guys." Unfortunately, Emily didn't survive that school shooting. So
Wow.
the parents wanted to do something. They wanted to see how could they help. They started a foundation, the I Love You Guys Foundation. And you can start a foundation and get money, but does that really help schools and prevent further, tragedies like the one that occurred in to this little girl?
Mm-hmm.
And so what they did is they got together. A lot of people wanted to be involved in it. They wanted to, be a part of this. So you had professionals from all different perspectives. You had you had people that had knowledge and experience, and they all came together and they came up with. If you scroll down a little bit, you'll see where it says common vocabulary. And that
There
common
you go.
vocabulary are procedures and protocols that everybody can follow regardless of where you're at. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
they came together, school psychologists, districts, families, and students, and this is all data driven and proven to be helpful. And so now most school districts are adopting this. Medina Valley has adopted it. I know Ed Couch Elsa just recently adopted it. I'm pretty sure there's other districts within the valley that have adopted it as well.
Mm.
And um, and it's proving to be helpful. If you scroll down a little bit where it says now we're dancing in the rain,
Right.
that young lady was personally affected um, by the Sandy Hook Elementary shooting. And now
Mm.
she brought in her expertise as a family member also, and she now helps with that organization or that foundation,
Right.
and making sure they get the right things, to schools.
Mm.
Um, so some of the things that we do in our district, and I know that and Ed Cochell said that we have these pictures. They're placed in every single classroom, as anybody that is following the I Love You Guys does have. So that one picture that there's a picture that I shared with you that has the
Okay.
whole.
It's down in the bottom, right?
No, I think this one is one that I emailed you or sent you separately.
Okay. Let me stop sharing that and let me come back here and where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Hold on.
Now, parents can have access to all of these resources just by going to the I Love You Guys Foundation, and I'm sure a little bit later on we can share that website
Mm-hmm.
so that they
All
can
right.
see
Here
this
we
for
go.
themselves.
So this is the picture you're talking about.
That's correct. So parents have that; they have that access. I mean, parents, students, classrooms. Every single classroom has that. Now, what should happen to prepare our students is we
Right.
should be going over this.
Hold on.
Teachers should be going over this. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm getting a little bit of noise. I don't know if it's feedback or something, but it's. Go ahead.
Okay.
Play with your mic a little bit, I guess. No,
Teachers should be covering this.
can't hear you really well. Try
Oh
it.
my goodness. Let's see.
Do you have another device that's on? technical difficulties, guys. We'll get back into it. We want to make sure you can hear the information. But we will be reading through this. And this is the 5 steps in case of an emergency that need to be taken. Uh, you got it? I can't hear you, Vangela. Can't hear you. It must be your mic. It must be your mic. Can you hear me? Thumbs up if you can hear me. Okay, she can hear me, but I can't hear her. You're muted. No, you're not muted. So let's see here. Interesting. Hey, when that happens, but it's okay. We'll get through this. uh, nope, can't hear you. Try unplugging it and plugging it back on. Yeah. Okay, no, I can't hear you. Oh, maybe it's the volume. Raise the volume. Because sometimes on mine, it somehow the volume doesn't work. Well, if you need to go back, if you need to go to the cell, go to your cell. I cannot hear you. Oh, wow. Wow. Anyway, so come in. Let's see. I cannot hear you. Not yet. Not yet. Wow. She'll be coming in a little bit. Yes, she will. Oh my god. Well, that's what happens, man. Sometimes we just gotta take care of the mic, and and the show can pause for a little bit, and then we come right back because it's worth it. Think of it as an intermission. Think of it as an intermission. Too bad I didn't have a video for it. I could be playing a video right now. But yeah. Well, you know what? While she gets that going, she'll come in. Let me show you some more pictures here. This is something that I found. This is school safety and the security. Is my child safe at school, and what can I do to help? And like this here was written by Yvonne Perk. And you can find this on the internet, guys, and you can read up on that. And you need to be informed as to how you're gonna do this. All right, hey, are you there? All right, now go ahead and
mute
the other one, and you should be fine.
there.
There you go. Either that, or let me remove you from the other one.
Yes.
Or let me kick you out. Let me kick you out. Kick you from studio. There. Kick yes. All right. There we go.
All
Sounds
right.
better? Cool.
Yes.
So let me go back to this. Okay. There we go. We're back in business. Can't beat the cell phone. The cell phone is the best thing.
Right?
Sometimes it is. I don't know why. The internet's better on the cell phone than it is on the computer sometimes. But anyway, we have this picture on here, and it's an emergency take action. I don't know why. The internet's better on the cell phone than it is on the computer sometimes. But anyway, we have this
Hold
picture
on.
on here. All right, you're hearing the show. Turn the show off. Or mute it.
Hold on.
All right, you're
Okay. It's because I cannot see it's really small on my
Oh,
screen,
okay.
that's why.
Then turn the computer on, but turn off the volume on the computer. On the computer, turn off the volume, and you should be able to do what you're saying. Yeah.
There we go. All right.
Hey, Renee, how's it going? Yeah.
Sorry about all that, guys.
No, that's cool. Yeah. I have my other laptop right next to me, but I have it. The volume is turned off, and so I don't get feedback. So that's how you do that.
Okay.
All right. So tell us about this picture and what it represents, and where this picture should be at. Is this just a picture, a reference, or does the principal get this and put it on his library, or what's the deal?
So a copy of this is placed in every classroom. So it should be at the entry of the door on the inside. So students will see it, if they're supposed to leave. let me put my glasses on because it's really tiny here.
Right.
So these are the different things that they will practice. Now, students, teachers should be practicing this with their students at the very beginning. The first week of school is a best practice to go over this. And in fact, in Medina Valley, that is a part of the first week of their lesson plans. Is every teacher takes their students, shows them what the fire drill would look like, the evacuation route would be, so that they are aware of it. So whenever we do have an actual fire drill, students know exactly where to go. If there was with a substitute teacher, there's no question as to where to go. So if the substitute teacher isn't familiar, the students will be familiar with it. And if there is any type of a hold, if we announce, we say secure, if there's a lockdown or evacuation or shelter in place or shelter, they'll know exactly what to do. There are no questions asked.
And so this picture needs to be in every classroom then.
That's correct.
So parents, if you go into your kid's classroom and you don't see this picture, that school district or that school is not doing their job as far as protecting your child. Am I right?
Unless they're not following the I Love You Guys protocol. They may have something else in place. Yeah, they should have something similar to this in the classroom.
And Renee says it's an ugly thing that has come to this in our classrooms. Yeah. I mean, you would think that classrooms would be sacred, just kind of like churches, no harm would come to churches or classrooms. And yet over the years, there's been many churches that have been under fire, and now classrooms.
Now our students.
Yeah. I mean, that's not cool,
right.
And so we need to feel like our kids are going to be safe in the classroom, and our teachers are going to be safe, and everybody else in within the grounds of the school. Okay, so now what do you want me to go back to the website, right?
So
all right, let me stop sharing. All right, and then let me go here and go there. And do I go to the I love you?
No, so go back to the
training,
the document that has that hold and everything on there, so we can look at.
Okay. I know exactly what you're talking about. All right, so let me share this, and I guess I can go. Window here, and there we go. So we have that.
Okay, so scroll down one so where we can see what hold is. So if we announce hold, so even if you as a parent, you're visiting the campus and you hear this, you're not going to know what to do.
Right.
Because you don't practice it as a parent. But this is how teachers are prepared. This is what we tell teachers, that they have to hold their child or hold the students in wherever they are, in your room or whatever area they are in. They clear the hallways. So if I have a student walking by, even if it's not my student, and they say that we need to hold, I'll pull that student in, and I will hold that student in there. And so if you look at the bottom where the public address is, until you say the hold is released and all is clear, then that's when students are able to go about their regular schedule. So for us, for example, at the high school, we switched classes every 40 some minutes.
Right.
And so if the bell rings and we're on hold, nobody is able to move.
Okay.
So usually most of the time, I've seen this, and we did have this a couple times this year here in Edcouch Elsa at the high school. It's usually been due to a medical emergency. So I guess I can take these off. A medical emergency. So let's say a student has a seizure, or something happens to where they need medical advice, EMT, or they need to be transported to the nurse. Well, we don't want people or kids in a hallway disturbing the passing area. And so
Right.
that's where we would have a hold. So it doesn't always mean that it's something something really bad has happened on campus. It's just something like that.
It's a way of
Of that
controlling
nature.
the whole school in a sense. Yeah.
Exactly. Keep everybody in place. And then once that emergency is over, then we release the hold. So
Now it says something here about messaging to parents.
so oftentimes when it's a hold like this,
Oh, it's a medical situation.
yeah,
A medical one.
yeah, I've not like we haven't notified the parents if it didn't really affect their child.
Right.
But you can. Some parents want to know about everything, and I get that. But if it doesn't, usually the ones that are contacted are the parents that are involved.
Okay.
The parents of the students that are involved in a medical.
Yeah, Johnny's parents are called because Johnny had, a seizure or something. But we didn't call Mary or Helen or Tommy or anybody else.
Right.
Just Johnny's parents. Okay, makes sense. All right, next one is secure. Were you finished with the whole?
No, yeah, I'm finished. I'm just waiting for it to scroll down because on my laptop it's a little bit slower than on my phone.
Yeah. Actually, there it is.
Okay,
right.
Actually, I have it on my laptop over here.
All right. So secure. Get inside. Lock inside doors. Lock outside doors.
Yep. So get inside and lock your outside doors.
Oh, the doors that go into the building. That's what they're talking about.
Right. So it could be due to violence criminal. It could be due to any type of a threat or any type of a hazard. So we've in districts where they've had to do that before because my husband has talked to me about how sometimes he's a state trooper and they're in pursuit and somebody out of the vehicle and they bail out close to a school, so they'll secure the school and make sure that everybody's inside their classroom. So the address or what they will say or announce over the intercom is secure, get inside, lock outside doors. So all teachers should lock their doors. I know one of the protocols that we had in Medina Valley was that your classroom doors should always be locked.
Right.
Okay. And even the outside doors on the perimeter of the schools should always be locked. And we would tell our staff and our students, never ever open a door for anybody, even if it's somebody that you think because if they should be in the campus, they should either have a key or they have to go through the front door.
Right. That makes sense.
Right. So that's
the only entrance to a school should be the front door.
Yes, that is correct. There should only be one entrance.
Yeah, I mean, it's like if somebody comes to visit you, they don't come in through a window or they don't come in through the back door. They come in through the front door. They knock on the front door. Hey, how's it going? Hey, okay, why don't you come on in? Let's have some coffee. You invite them in, and and the same thing should be with schools.
Right. We have to be able to control who's coming in and who's coming out. And if it's coming in through the side door or if somebody's holding a door open, propping a door open, you can't control who's coming in.
Right. Yes, I mean you have a large campus, whatever 1,000 or 2,000 kids in there, whatever. But the thing is this: sometimes parents don't understand this, and why? Well, man, I'm here all the time. You should know me, but hey, they might not know you because you only, and this is what people don't understand this. Like for instance, the teacher. There's 20, 30 people that know the teacher, but the teacher has to remember 30 different people. They only have to remember one. So they only have to remember the one teacher and what she looks like and her name. But the teacher has to remember every single kid's name and every single parent's name. It's hard. So, and that's the teacher. But imagine the people that are like by the door. They're not going to remember every single parent that belongs there. They're not. So this is why there's protocol. Yeah, that makes sense.
Right. And then even more so in small communities where everybody knows everybody. But just because you know somebody doesn't mean that you shouldn't check in. There's sign-in sheets in the front. Um, they even go through. They even, have to give their IDs to the front office. And I know when I was in Medina Valley, as the administrator, one of the administrators on campus, if we had a parent come in or anybody that visited the campus and they came back as somebody who was a registered sex offender or anything else, I got a text sent to my phone. Wow. And I immediately made my way to the front office and I hung out there along with the SRO, and we hung out there and we waited for that person to leave. If they have a child there, they have a right to be there, but that gave us a heads up so that we could monitor that. So,
or that parent,
yeah,
whatever.
Exactly. Wow. And so all parents do have to present an ID when they visit campuses. They should be getting a visitor's pass. Some systems have it to where the picture that's on their ID actually prints out on the visitor's pass and they put it on them. So if they're walking around campus, we know that they're supposed to be there, so that's what some of the measures that are being taken.
I know I used to do that or go through that procedure when I would go do chess lessons at different schools. And so they would take my ID, they would scan it or do whatever, and they would give me a name tag with my picture on it, and then boom. So that meant that I was who I said I was, because I could say, well, I'm Jerry, or I'm John, or I'm Pancho, or whatever. But with a picture, you got double identity because you have the name and you have the picture.
Right.
And so it's that was really cool. Yeah. You know what?
And I'll talk to you a little bit here.
Let me stop you there. I think that's important to say in Spanish as well. Everything there. Because parents need to hear this in both languages.
Right. Cuando usted visita la escuela, siempre le van a pedir una identificación. Y la razón es para que, ¿verdad?, nosotros sepamos, ¿verdad?, quién es el que está llegando a la escuela. Tenemos que saber quién llega a visitar a la escuela. Y en muchas escuelas le van a dar una pase, una calcomanía o sticker, ¿verdad?, con la foto de usted que viene en la identificación, para que cuando usted anda caminando por los pasillos, todos saben que usted tiene, ¿verdad?, ya firmó, ya tiene permiso para estar ahí, ¿verdad? Y una de las cosas que hacemos, que le decíamos hasta los niños, pero los maestros, más que los maestros, que pregunten si ven a alguien, un adulto o alguien que no conocen y no tienen identificación, deberían de preguntarles que si le pueden ayudar, si se le ofrece algo para saber quién es, ¿verdad? Yeah. Entonces, cuando tenemos que vienen a checar a ver cómo está nuestro sistema, es una cosa que hacen, se meten a la escuela para ver si alguien les dice algo, wow, ¿verdad? Entonces,
es verdad. That's right. Eso es verdad, porque pues si no hay pruebas, si no hacen, como dicen, si no drills, si no tratan de ver dónde va a haber un problema, nunca lo van a encontrar y nunca va a haber una solución que esté bien, ¿verdad? So yeah, really, really good stuff. Should I go to the next one, or are you going to continue in with something else?
Go ahead and go to the next one.
All right, the next one is... Right?
Actually, this is a continuation of it. So you can...
School secures and all that. These are different...
Yeah, those are the signs that when the school is secured, those are the signs that we would put outside. And you see it's in Spanish and in English. So that people know from the outside that they cannot come in at the moment, that the school is secure. So that's just letting them know. So they're not pounding on the door.
No one in, no one out. Right? All right, so lockdown. This is the hard one. Now we're hardcore in a sense.
So the lockdown is called when there's a threat or a hazard inside of the school building.
Okay? Inside. Okay.
So the other one was a threat outside. This one's a threat inside of the building. And this could include an active shooter. It could include, let's say, a parent who is disgruntled because they lost custody of their child. And so they're coming in angry. There's several different things as to why we would call a lockdown. Okay. So we call it locks, lights, out of sight. So teachers would make sure that their doors are locked, their lights are turned off, and then out of sight. Now, one of the things that we suggest, because classrooms have little windows,
Right.
right? So it's hard to be out of sight when you have a window. So we always encourage our teachers to make sure that they have something that they could quickly cover their window up with.
Right.
So it could be a poster board. A lot of teachers got very creative with curtains.
Right.
And some teachers that aren't too fond of having curtains on their windows, they just got regular butcher paper. They rolled it up and taped it. And when
Right.
we had our drills, they untaped it and put it down so
Right.
nobody could see in.
That
And
makes sense.
during a lockdown drill, the SROs, the administrative team, sometimes this includes counselors, principal, assistant principals, and even local law enforcement oftentimes will participate in these drills. They'll walk around the school and they will bang on the doors and they'll say, "Hey, let me in, it's me," or
Yeah.
"Hey, I'm your friend, I need to get in," to see how kids react.
Right.
And then after these types of drills, we actually come back together and we talk about the drills. Okay, what happened? What did you see that we needed to work on? What went well and what needs to be worked on? And then
Wow.
we would come up with a plan. We would, after debriefing, we'd come up with a plan. Then at our next staff meeting, I always shared with the staff what went right, what went wrong, what do we need to work on. That way, when we had our next drill, they would know exactly what they need to focus on. If it was a particular teacher that did something that was way off, we would speak to that teacher individually, obviously not pointing that teacher out in front of the rest of the staff. But, that's how serious we take child safety, and making sure that we're doing the right thing when it comes to this.
And I think as a parent, you need to take these drills seriously, and you need to tell your children to take them seriously. Because I know growing up, we used to have fire drills, and we were clowns. We would try to hide and not come outside, or that kind of deal. And I know I'm guilty. I never took them seriously. But back then we weren't seeing the things we see now, and
Yeah,
and it's man, reality has hit home. We need to be prepared. We need to take these drills seriously so that when something like Uvalde happens here in the valley, we're able to save as many lives as possible by our actions
right,
alone. By our actions
right,
alone.
right,
A lot of times, somebody that comes inside the classroom, they're gonna try to open the door. If the door is locked, they're gonna go to the next door. Guess what? That teacher and those kids are now safe, because that's human nature. You try it, boom, boom, you go to the next one, and
right. And we even tell teachers to barricade the doors. Put a bookshelf, move something heavy in front of that door so that if they try to get in or they try to shoot through the door, you've done what you can,
right,
to put that barrier there. Now, the other thing, the way we end a lockdown, the way we ended it at Medina Valley is we would tell teachers that they are not allowed to unlock the door, even if because I was always the one to make the announcements. Even if I made an announcement and I said, "Okay, we're clear, the lockdown is now over," we told them not to unlock the door because I said, "You don't know
if
if
you're on
there's somebody that
gunpoint,
has a gun to my head and is making me say that." And then
right?
you all open your doors, and then guess what happens? So
So
we
you
tell
had a
them
cold. You had a cold.
the right, the lockdown is not over. If it's a drill or not, it is not over until an administrator, an SRO, or it opens that door for you.
Oh wow.
Yes.
Oh wow! I would think you would say, okay, all right, teachers, Apple Jack, Super B, whatever, and that would be your code. Okay, open the door. Wow.
Yeah, no. We wouldn't do that.
So
So
you would go classroom by classroom to open that
yes.
door. Uh,
Yes.
wow.
And one time I remember, because it's not just me, we're a team and we work collectively. We all work together to make these drills successful. And I have to say, everybody was really good there at Medina Valley. And except for the one time that I forgot one teacher, a dance teacher, and I didn't go open her door, or somebody in that area didn't go open her door. And she finally calls me, "Is the drill over?" And it had already been like 20 minutes. And I'm like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." And I went over there and I opened it for her. But, you know, I mean, it happens. We're not perfect. But I think it is a an important part of the drill to have.
Okay, I see here it says, what about cell phones? What are they talking about here?
Like it's a little small.
Yeah, it's one of the occasionally heated conversations is about cell phones usage. In the current trend continues, there will be a point in the future where nearly every student will have a communicate. Well, in other words, every student will have a cell phone. There may be cases where law enforcement will ask students to leave their phones behind a bomb threat, for example, or during a bomb threat, for example. In many cases, having the ability to craft messages for students to send to their parents, or for students to call their parents, can be tremendous value.
Yeah. So it could be that, for example, in the case of a bomb threat, if the bomb threat's coming from a cell phone from within the school, maybe that could be the reason why they ask them to leave their phones behind, or for whatever reason. We do know that that's the first thing students do is they text their parents.
Yeah.
And sometimes the information that they text their parents describing the perpetrator or the sounds that they hear or what's going on does provide valuable information to law enforcement so that they know exactly maybe where he's at in the building, or what he has on, what kind of weapons he carries, or it could be a he or she. And so, you know, sometimes cell phones can be more beneficial than not.
Yeah, definitely. All right. The next one.
That's evacuate.
Right.
Yeah, so this is when you evacuate from one location to another. We've had to do this a couple times in Medina Valley. This was because, and we've done it from one building to another as well in El Couch Elsa. So if the AC unit's not working, you know, with Texas heat, you can't keep students in a building without air conditioning. There was one time when there was a gas leak in the building in a science lab. So obviously we would have to evacuate that building until it's fixed. So there's different reasons why we would evacuate buildings, you know, as a whole.
But I mean, but evacuate in case of danger wouldn't. I mean, let me ask you this, because you say maybe a classroom or a certain building's air conditioner is not working. They were in a classroom and all of a sudden they need to evacuate. But do they follow the same protocol as if they have to evacuate because of a bomb threat or something? Do they follow the same procedure?
Yes, it would.
In other words, do they treat it the same way? Evacuation is treated the same way whether there's danger or not.
Right. Well, I mean, it could be dangerous, right? If there's a gas leak.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, but I'm talking for air conditioner.
Yeah, but it could. You leave your kids in there, but yes, because we want our kids to evacuate the building in a calm manner. You know, if the building's going to explode or something, you know, we're going to hurry them up, but we don't want to cause panic, because if you panic and you have kids running out of the building, somebody's going to get hurt. They're going to get trampled on. We're going to have more of an emergency than we had before. And so that's why we practice evacuation. We practice being calm, walking in an orderly manner to our destination, or kids should already know where they're going because we've already practiced it.
Now, let me ask you this, and I don't know if this question makes sense, but what about special needs kids? How are they handled?
So as a part of your emergency operation plan, there is a place where you specifically label your special needs students, those who are in wheelchairs, who need more time. So you have to have those students' names and where their schedules are. That way, in case of an emergency, such as a school shooting or an evacuation or anything like that, we can make sure that we know where those kids are and that they can evacuate properly. Students, usually there's a pretty high ratio of adults to students who are in our like our life skills unit, our severely disabled students.
Right.
So they do have the proper help to get out. Teachers do have rosters that they should carry with them when they evacuate. And once they get to their where they're supposed to be standing or wherever they've evacuated to, they have to take roll and make sure that everybody that was present that day is there with them. And so that's, part of the one of the things that we do. Okay, is everybody accounted for? You go around, is everybody accounted for? And if they're accounted for, then great. And if they're not accounted for, we know where their schedule is, we know where they're supposed to be, and we go find them.
Right.
Of course,
So,
we
so
never had
then
to do that.
part of the protocol should be that there should be a teacher's roster next to the door or something where they could just grab it and walk out. Right?
Yes. Yes, in Medina Valley, they did have teachers print out their rosters every 6 weeks. They had the rosters. They had a substitute binder with rosters, and fortunately, their system to take attendance also had the student's picture next to it, so they would print those out, and they had that access easily. It was easy for them to grab and take with them when they evacuated the building.
Wow, this is really, really cool.
So if you have a substitute, the substitute can, not only is it easier for the substitute to help, with discipline,
right.
but in case of an emergency, she knows who is who, or he knows who is who.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's probably like a captain in the classroom, a student that's like the captain or something like that. I'm sure. I don't know if is that part of the procedure. Do they select somebody that?
There could be. At the high school, I haven't seen it too much. Maybe more so at the elementary. I know that they used to have buddies, like a buddy system.
Okay, buddy system.
You're in charge, of this person, and you guys have to make sure that you're in line and you're together the whole time. But then you have to practice other things, like what do you do if your buddy's absent that day? And
wow, it's amazing. So many things, but it's best to be prepared.
Yeah.
Wow.
For
All
sure.
right. So, police.
Okay. Police led. Oh.
Did I go too far? Yeah, evacuate and then police.
Evacuation after a lockdown. So this is clearing the out in the case that the police are the actual ones that had to take over a lockdown. So let's say somebody did run into the building or and they're still in the building and we need to evacuate the students. Maybe they have the suspect cornered, or maybe he's or she's been shot and they need to evacuate the campus in order to do an investigation. This is going to come into play. And the police are the ones that will be leading that type of evacuation.
Wow.
And that's pretty much what happened in Uvalde. It was a police-led evacuation after that incident.
After the gunman was shot.
Yes. So.
And so, the kids in a case like that, does kids stay in the classroom until the situation has been resolved? It's never okay. Evacuate while there's danger.
Yeah. So usually, whoever's in command is the one that's going to be making those kinds of choices, those kinds of decisions. So I know that some students were evacuated, in Uvalde through windows. I'm not sure. I can't be sure if they were evacuated during the event or if they waited until after it was over. I didn't really read anything specifically, but it is up to whoever is in command to make those kinds of choices.
Now, you're speaking about command. Now, in Uvalde, if I'm correct, or I could be wrong, the person in charge was a school official. In other words, a school official or a member of the school police. Now, is protocol that the school police chief should be in charge, or should it be the city police chief? or
Well, not
somebody perhaps with more experience?
at the beginning. So if there were to have been some sort of an event such as this at the campus, in Medina Valley, we had our command team. You already
Right.
that's part of your emergency operations plan.
Right.
Who in your command team, and it's always going to be the principal, the assistant principal in charge of the emergency operations plan, and then of course our SROs and anybody else that comes in. I'm pretty sure that, to be honest, since I've never been in that position, it's hard to say.
Right.
I'm pretty sure that our SRO would probably take the lead,
Right.
but it's hard to say.
But then once the city gets involved, should the city take over, or should for instance, here in Texas, the Texas Rangers get involved, or the troopers? I mean, because it seems like you would, they would have more experience
Yes.
because they see it more often than a school
Yeah.
police officer.
So SROs in Medina Valley, they are sheriff's deputies. Okay, not everybody
Okay.
have a sheriff's deputy, but they did.
All right.
But I know that state troopers and sheriff's deputies, they go through annual trainings
Right.
every year for this kind of an event for active shooters. They actually go through the trainings. I used to work in Pearsall ISD, and they use the high school as a training site for that kind of an incident. And my husband was a part of that. And so they do go through those trainings, and every so often, it obviously, I'm not trained. I'm not an law enforcement. So even though I'm in charge of the emergency operation plan, there would be no reason for me to be in command. I have no experience.
Right.
Gone through that training.
Wow. Yeah, because that's that's what we were hearing, that, over here in Uvalde, it was a campus officer or police chief, and at least I was thinking, well, hey, okay, be in charge until, as they say, the real officers come in.
Yeah.
And once, like, I don't know. I mean, so there's like, he was the one making the calls, where maybe somebody with more experience should have been making the calls.
Yeah, and you see, that might just have been the thing. People might have thought he had the experience in the training. He didn't. I don't know.
Right.
I don't want to judge him.
Right.
I'll leave that up to whoever's doing the investigation. But it should be somebody that has recently gone through the training. And you have to think also that local chief of police, how emotional was he in that moment? Because he probably knew the families and the children.
That's true.
Possibly even the gunman. And so, is it wise for somebody like that to take charge, or wiser for, Texas Rangers or somebody to come in and take charge?
Yeah, and I don't want to be mean or anything, but then there's always pride. We see that in the movies all the time. The hero is never the one in charge, but he's the one that has the answers, and the guy that's in charge is just doing it because he's prideful and he wants to get it done his way, and it winds up not working. And I mean, we see that in the movies all the time. And so if we see that in the movies, I mean, I'm sure we see it in real life.
Right.
And,
right.
Yeah. Wow. It's it's a situation you don't want to be in ever again, to prove the point, quite frankly.
Right.
But, wow. Anyway, so that's it for this one, right?
Yeah.
All right. Did you want to jump into the next one, or?
So,
I can't hear you.
You got it up there?
Right there. I can hear you now.
Oh, okay. So it's the next one, the shelter.
All right.
And that's where you would state the hazard and the safety strategy.
Is that
you're going to
the form?
Okay, that's the reunification information.
All right.
Okay?
So every parent needs to be able to have one of these.
In case your child has been evacuated to another building such as what happened in Uvalde. If they are using the I love you guys strategy, which most school districts are, you would fill out a card like this. This is called the reunification information, and you have to have a photo ID. And this is so that you can pick up your child, reunite with your child and take them home. There has to be structure and there has to be protocols followed, because in the event that there are, somebody is injured, we have to be able to, know who's going home with who, first of all, and talk to those parents in case somebody is injured.
Wow.
Yeah. So you would not fill this out. Let's say you register your kid for school next year. This isn't something you fill out at that moment. This would only be filled out in the event that there was an actual evacuation.
Before you pick up that kid. Before
yes.
you pick up your kid or whoever's picking up that kid, they need to fill this up so that we have records as to who's taking who and all that.
Yes.
All right. Do you want to look at the training drills and exercises?
Sure.
All right. Let's look at that. This is from the Texas State, Texas School Safety Center, which again you guys can look up on the websites. Let's see if I have this over here. This is what we're talking about right here. Here's the website that you guys can look up. And
so this is every school district in the state of Texas has to follow these drill requirements. And that's something that parents should be asking. Do you guys have, when are you guys having your fire drills, or do you have them scheduled? Have you had any? So they should secure the school district and have a drill at least once a year. Lockdowns, they should have 2 lockdowns a year. Evacuate the entire building to off campus should happen at least once a year. Shelter in place, and it says for hazmat, and that would be, any environmental, anything that would stop them from going out. Shelter in place for severe weather, and then your fire evacuations. So you have at least 4 a year. So if you haven't, or 2 per semester. So if you haven't had any, if your child hasn't had any, you should ask them, have you guys had any drills? Have you practiced this? Have you practiced that?
Well,
Mr. Garces asks a question.
Yeah, he says so. An SRO is a school resource officer, right? Who do they work for? The state, the county, or the city?
So it really depends. In the case of Medina Valley is contracts sheriff's deputies. And so when they're not working, so right now, for example, in the summer, if they're not working, they're actually out patrolling on duty. They're dressed as sheriff's deputies, and they just work with that school district. So it's different. It just depends. Some school districts have their own police department, and they have chief of police, and they have actual police officers. I know La Jolla ISD does. I believe that even Edinburgh CISD does.
The ISD has that. They have their own police force.
Yeah. And Ed Couch Elsa, we have our chief of security, and we have hired armed security guards. So we don't actually have an SRO. Wow. So, yeah. So it just depends on the district and, how they go about it.
Well, let me ask you this. That brings up these questions. Should schools have veterans that are trained and, that they know how to use firearms and all of that in schools?
What would they be doing in schools? I mean, what would their job be? Would it be as security, or you mean hire them as security, or what?
Yeah, something like that. All right, let me stop sharing, because all of a sudden we're getting some questions here. If schools were not following the drill requirements, what are the actions that need to be taken, and what are the consequences? Good question, Carol.
Yeah, it is a very good question. So if the school is audited, schools are audited and they are found to be out of compliance, they can be fined, and they have to have a corrective plan of action. And well, who knows, hopefully they'll do what they need to do to make it right. But parents, teachers, anybody can make that phone call if schools are not doing what they should be doing, because even as staff, we're worried about our own safety as well. So if it's not happening, somebody can report it. It can be reported.
And you can go to this website and get that information,
Yeah.
which we're sharing right now. And it's true, because I think parents want to know what they can do to prepare their children in case of emergency. The answer is, of course, yes, they do want to know.
Yes.
But yeah. Anyway, we have another question. Let's see what else. Okay, thank you, Carolyn. Let me go back to that. Share that again, and which one is
okay, you're looking at the drills.
Yeah.
So the drill definitions are there. That document that you just shared right now.
There you go.
Right. And it's pretty much the same thing that we see in the I love you guys. So you see some common vocabulary there. They may say read a little bit different, but they all have the same meaning. The secure, the drill, the lockdown. What does evacuate mean? What does shelter in place? So there's the hold, the fire evacuation drill. So there's that shared vocabulary. And then underneath are the toolkits that foundations can use. And then you'll see the I Love You Guys Foundation. It's all there. So there's no reason why a school district shouldn't have an emergency operations plan in place, and why they shouldn't be practicing these. It's all there for them. They have to document their drills and keep that documentation on file for 3 years in case they're audited. So there's a very good chance that a school district could be audited, especially after what just happened. And, if you don't have your ducks in a row, then that's when we could see some, potential consequences.
Wow.
If I'm not a parent and that has a kid in school anymore, because my son just graduated high school, but I know La Jolla ISD does a great job because I've worked there. I worked there for 17 years, so I know what their protocols are. But I think I would be asking questions if I were a parent. What are you guys doing as far as safety goes? I dropped my kid off here, and I want to make sure that, my kid you all are doing what you can to keep my child safe in the event of, some sort of a crisis.
No, that makes a lot of sense, because if they're not compliant, if they're not doing what they have to do, if they're not doing the minimum requirements, how are they going to protect our children?
Right. And I do want to bring up one thing. And I know we touched on it briefly, but we didn't really talk about, and I'm not trying to make the teacher look bad or anything, but the door was propped open in the back of the school because she went out, or on the side, because she went out to her car. Mm-hmm. So that's why administration always emphasizes, do not leave doors propped open, even if you're just going to get something from your vehicle. Yeah. Do not leave it propped open. That leaves an invitation for somebody to come in through that door. Now, when she realized that, and this is according to news, and it could have changed. It could have changed since the last time I read. She heard that there was a man with a gun, and so she came inside and she removed the rock that was propping the door open. But the door did not latch. She thought it closed automatically, and it didn't latch, and that's how he got in. So it's real important that, who would have thought? Yeah. Just by going out and getting her phone or talking on her phone, that this would have happened. She never thought, and I feel for her deeply, because I can't imagine how she's feeling at this moment. Right. She never would have wanted this to happen, but it is important that, we do follow those protocols.
Yeah. And of course, this was a targeted case, the gunman was going for a specific target in there. Yeah. But and he probably would have gotten in anyway. But still, you don't want to miss those. You don't want to miss the protocol. You got to keep everything secure. No matter what. Even if it's 100% sure that there's no gunman out there, there's no danger. You just don't do that.
Right.
because when you do, things happen. You know, it's it's a hard lesson to learn, but that's why the protocol's there. That's why we have to follow procedure.
Right.
Um,
Right.
wow.
So I guess my what I would encourage parents to do, besides asking their schools, what are you guys doing for school safety? I would take a look. I log in, Google I Love You Guys Foundation. I think the website was posted. Look at what it is that kids can do in the event of different drills. That way, they can talk to their kids about them. Maybe even practice. Let's pretend this is the classroom. This is what you would do. That way, kids know and they're not afraid. We're not trying to instill fear in our kids. But what parents do need to know is kids have been doing drills ever since they were in pre-K.
Right.
So drills are not new to them. And just because we're going to practice drills doesn't mean that, we're trying to make our kids scared. But if we do it at home too, it's going to reinforce the importance of following protocol, not goofing off like somebody I know.
Right. No, it's true. It's true.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a lot of information.
It is a lot of information because hold on, let me I wanted to make sure we copy this, and I want to put it up here. But that's the website, guys, and this is why this is the website right here. The I Love You Guys Foundation was started in 2006 by Alan and John Keys following a school shooting that took the life of their daughter Emily. And like Angela said before, Emily got her cell phone and she called both parents and she said, "I love you guys," and those were her last words, or some of her last words that the parents heard. And how sad.
Yeah.
You know.
We can never be too prepared. I think that's a lesson that we can learn. And that some of the kids did the right thing there in Uvalde. They did the right thing. There was just nothing that could have prepared them for this.
Yeah, and I mean, even like I was thinking it earlier, about locking doors, securing doors. There's things where you put a chair and you prop it against a lock or something like that, and there's different ways. I know there also I saw a couple of days ago I saw where they have some sort of kind of like a lasso type or like a little chain type, and they have to go in there with and they drill it to the wall, and they're able to hook the door handle to the wall, and so they can't open that door. And that's something that's not too expensive for schools to do per classroom.
Right. There is a mechanism, and I believe I shared it on my Facebook page, and it's like a little lock, or like a little piece of iron that pops up on the outside of the door if you go into lockdown, and you can't open the door at all
because it hits that little
that costs $50 a door. $50 a door. If I were a parent, I'd say, "Hey, here's my $50. Let me pitch in."
Well, yeah. I mean, you could even go as far as $2 per kid, and that covers that door.
Yeah, but we shouldn't have to as parents.
I know we shouldn't have to. The school district should be able to do that,
right?
Because there's funds and there's grants for safety. I'm sure there are, but where is that money going? Why aren't our doors secure?
Yeah.
Yeah. Dice Adriana is from Argentina. Hola, Adriana. Y dice, qué triste para los padres. How sad. It's true.
Sí, muy triste, muy triste.
Wow.
No me puedo imaginar.
No, I mean, and now we're hearing the stories, and the grandparents and aunts and uncles and everybody, and it's like, wow, they're telling the stories of the kids, and the kids that survive, even they're having issues because they can't sleep because the shots that they were hearing or whatever they were feeling at the time. It's just not. I don't know.
Yeah,
It's hard.
it
It's,
is.
pero pues I don't know. I mean, you practice the drills, right? You practice the drills, but a lot of times, let me show you a picture here. A ver, ¿dónde está? ¿Dónde está? ¿Dónde está? Ta, 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 ta. We have this picture here, and I mean, this is what you practice. This is what you practice, but this is just a drill, guys. You know, when reality hits and there's somebody shooting in the next classroom or shooting in the across the hall, you will. I mean, I will bet you all the money in the world that these kids are not in this position. The teacher, I'm sure this is teacher because the body's a little bit bigger. They're not positioned. They're 20 times, 100 times scared, and I mean, it's a different situation to drill through actual reality, but at least the drill prepares them.
Exactly. Can you imagine if you never had a drill before and then the teacher said, y'all need to get down, y'all need to get, I mean, that would probably freak them out. But if they say,
poor teacher too.
Drill, a lot of times when we do drills, we don't tell the students that it's a drill because we don't want them to distinguish between a drill and a real life situation. That way, for real life situation,
and
not
here,
what do you call it? Afraid.
Many of the solutions that teachers propose, they're being told that they go against fire safety mandates and rules or laws.
It looks like I lost you.
Okay, I can hear you. What's going on? I can hear you.
I lost you.
I can hear you talk. Just talk. Just talk. You're fine. Oh, she took her website. Her internet's a little weak, but it's true. Who are the experts in this case? Some of the expertise should go to the teachers. They're in the classrooms. They're the ones that have to deal with the children, and it's hard. It's hard when you can't. It's just hard. So, how do we deal with that? What's the situation there? So yeah, Carolyn, yeah, I think teachers need to give more input as to about our safety procedures, because the teachers are the ones with the kids. They know their kids. They know what, how. They know their classroom. And so yeah. There you go. She's back.
Sorry, my husband he's away from the military for a couple weeks, and he was trying to FaceTime me. So.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So, to answer what Ms. Hastings says, many solutions that teachers propose. The thing is, if you look up and do your research on what the I Love You Guys protocols are and what the state of Texas requires, and you bring those up to them, then you're not going against safety mandates.
Right.
Then they can't say no. Then that would be more of an administrator's making a choice based on their likes or what they want to do versus what the state says we can do or should be doing.
And then again, there wouldn't be the principal or the school district would not be following protocol, and therefore they're liable.
Right.
They would be liable there because they're not even giving the kids a chance to survive at that point.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, in bottom line, you can't stop bullets. I don't care what you drill. You can't stop bullets once somebody gets in there. But the thing is, how are they going to get through the door? How are they going to get the door? So if we had doors that are secure, the gunman would go in, try to open the door, and he'll go to the next one, or he'll go to the next one. He's going to go hit the door that's open.
Right.
And so. And where he can see stuff, I would even suggest, maybe taking a picture like storage stuff, and they look in the window and they see storage stuff. There's nobody there, you know. I mean, I don't know. It might help, might not.
Yeah, yeah.
But that's true, I mean,
I know. And then she says, ¿Cómo regresar a la escuela después de eso? Yeah. How do these kids go back after that? Some of them may be too traumatized. They're going to need a lot of professional help. And I know that there's a lot of people out there gathering donations and doing what they can do to give these kids and parents, families, the help that they need so that they can move forward. But yeah, that's hard, and it would be interesting to know what they did, in the other schools where they had shootings. Did those kids ever go back to school? It'd be interesting.
they become homeschoolers, or they just, it's hard, going back to school is hard for these kids. They what was that story of that little girl that she said she lost, she was new to the school, and her best friend that she had met was with her, and then her best friend moved over somewhere, and her best friend got shot, and
Yeah.
she was feeling like terrible. I mean, her best friend, new to the area, they moved from, I think she moved from another city, and they were new to the area, and the only friend, 'cause I think she was a little shy too, and her only friend was that little girl that passed away, and it's like,
Yeah, so
man,
sad.
I mean, you're talking about, these were like third graders.
Yeah.
It's just sad.
Second, third grade.
Ok, what's she saying there? Perdone la pregunta, pero ¿qué pasa con estas cosas?
¿Por qué?
Bueno, pasó porque este chavo estaba loco y, tenía cosas en su mente que quería hacer, quería hacer un daño. Había realmente tenido un problema con su abuelita y le despiró.
¿Explotó?
En la cara, y o sea, la señora de buenas que no murió, pero según se dice, que fue para atrás a la escuela. Este chavo tenía 18 años. Y también se dice que tenía una novia que era menor de 18 años. So, este chavo ya andaba en problemas y, sí, ya, I mean, es una situación no muy buena. I mean, pues cualquier persona que se meta a una escuela y mate a 21 personas, no. O que mate hasta una persona que nomás hubiera matado, también hubiera una tragedia.
Y hay tenemos muchas preguntas y no sabemos las respuestas de las preguntas.
¿Verdad? That is so true. Yeah. Wow. Well, Vangela, anything else you want to add?
No, but I'm if anybody has any questions, and I'll do my best to answer those questions. I know some people don't get to see this until later on.
Yeah.
And so by all means, if
post your questions, and we'll be checking, and we'll answer those questions. Or Vangela will check. For at least for this week and the next week, I mean, we'll get notified if some comment pops up, and so we're able to respond or give you the best answer we could possibly give you. Exactly. Quite frankly, I mean, if it involves protocol, then we can definitely, or Vangela can definitely handle that. If it involves something that a police officer should go, well, then maybe not. But at the same time, Vangela is married to a trooper, a Texas state trooper, and so she has resources that most of us don't.
Mm-hmm. And he has training for events like this as well. So
yeah, and so. And I'm sure that's really helpful, because that helps you, and you've been in charge. You've been like security officer, or what's it called?
I was in charge of the emergency operations plan.
Wow.
Yeah, and carrying out all the drills and making sure that we followed protocol. I actually did walkthroughs of the campus to make sure that they had something to cover up their window with, just to make sure that those signs were where they were supposed to be and everything. I even created like little cheat cards for this teachers to have. So for us, so it said hold, and then it would say exactly what they were supposed to do. And I put them on a little ring binder, and I had them right next to the door. So if I announced hold and they didn't remember what it meant, they could go grab it and look at it, and they would know exactly what to do.
Wow. No, and that's what's done when you care. When our administrators care about the safety of the school, they're going to do anything they can to prepare that teacher, to prepare those kids so that they can be safe in a situation such as they had in Uvalde.
Yeah.
And
I have to credit Medina Valley though, because they're the ones that trained me and prepared me to be able to do the job the way I was supposed to do it at the campus. So very grateful for that training and that opportunity to serve in that capacity, because it opened up my eyes, and now I go to another district and I see things and I'm like, whoa, this needs to change. Or
and you come with experience and you know what's going on versus just having a title and not knowing what to do. Yeah. And I think that's what happens a lot of time. Maybe they're I know teachers are always doing different programs and different tutorials and this and that, and it's like sometimes I wonder how many tutorials teachers see on safety, if any.
Well, they do, because I mean, as the person in charge, I trained my teachers we went over the cheat cards as staff as a whole before they went back and then did the same thing with the students.
Right.
So I had those protocols in place.
And you know what? That also takes away from teaching time or from start training time, and that's important. And in some districts, maybe they don't make that a priority. Maybe it's all about the stars.
Well, the first week of school should be all about protocols. That's what you're teaching your students usually the first week of school anyway. They're doing the all about me activities and stuff like this, and that is safety protocol is something that should not be ignored that first week. It should be a part of the lesson plan. Wow. And that's why what we did is we created the lesson plan where we went over the student code of conduct, the handbook, we went over the drills and all of that. We took care of that for the teachers. And that way we would make sure that everything was covered and students knew exactly what they were supposed to do in any type of event, including they knew what the dress code was and the cell phone policy, all of it was included.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, well, cool. Well, Angela, I think it's a great show. I think parents are going to see this later on, and they'll probably have some questions. Right now, when I've noticed comments were coming in, so that means they were focusing, they were paying attention to it. And sometimes some shows we don't get a lot of comments because people are just like glued to it and they're listening and they're taking notes, and and that's why. But I know they're out there. We're gonna know later on.
Yes.
Pero wow. Es muy importante, padres, que chequen este website. A ver, I mean, this one right here. Este y este. Si su escuela, o más que todo, yo digo que si su escuela no tiene algo que usted mira aquí en esta página del website, entonces esa escuela no está haciendo lo que debe de hacer, que el estado de Texas exige. Y ahí hay mucha información. Y lo tienen en inglés y lo tienen en español. Mm-hmm. Am I right, Vangela?
Así es.
Yeah. So, guys, if you want to be informed as to how you can better train your child to survive situations like this, it's in here. And maybe your child that is very well trained could be the hero of the class, because sometimes that whoever is more familiar with the procedure, of course it could be the teacher, but in situations you don't know who's going to really stand up and be the hero, and who's going to handle the pressure.
Yeah.
Sometimes it could be a kid, and there's nothing wrong with that, Dice, thanks for a great show, Ray and Vangela. Very informative. Yes. Thank you, Oscar. Well, that's what
Thank
we're
you.
about. We're about bringing information, and it might not be the popular thing, but I guarantee you that I wish more people in Uvalde would have heard this show, a month before this happened, or administrators, or I don't know, maybe not. Gracias, bendiciones a ustedes.
Igualmente, Adriana.
Nos vemos mañana. Adriana and I do a show in the morning at 8 o'clock on Monday.
Nice.
So, en actitud y pasión. So, sí, wow. Bueno, Angela, pues nos retiramos, right? I guess we call it a day. And,
thank you for the invitation. I appreciate it.
oh, man. And I think we need to do more of these type of shows where we can bring in, school procedures, what's going on in school as far as what should be going on in schools, and, maybe certain things that kids, like I know in Brownsville, there was a kid that brought in, thank you, there was a kid that accidentally or not, there was a gun in the vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
This is a high school. But then people were saying, okay, so the dad left it there and the kid didn't notice because they would share the vehicle, and now he's in trouble. He got arrested. But then there was also boxes of bullets in there. And so it's like, okay, so, okay, if you carry a gun, maybe, okay, the gun's loaded, but, why have boxes of bullets?
Exactly.
That's, and again, guys, parents, warning signs, you might have the best kit and you don't know.
Yeah, let's look at warning signs or things we could analyze, some of these situations and what were some of the warning signs, the red flags that were there ahead of time, because it seems like there have always been some red flags and people just didn't report it. So what are those red flags? And if you as a parent notice something in your child, what can you do?
Yeah. Well, cool. Well, Vangela, we'll let you go. Take care.
Right.
Have a good one. And adios. Yes. All right. Again, this is Royal with Toxel Central RTV style. Bidding you good night. Buenas noches. Again, see this show. How is they keeping our kids safe in school. Watch it. A lot of good information in this. Good night.